Hey guys, Professor Bell, Comic Book University, and Spotlight on Story on Marvel Team Up, issue number 100. It's a double-sized issue. Check this out. First off, to get started, Marvel Team Up is one of two major comic books that Marvel was putting out during its time, its tenure, where it involved a main character hero that was consistently in the book, and then every single issue, there would be one other character who would show up as well, or one other team, whatever. So in this particular book, it was Spider-Man was the main character, and there'd always be some kind of a guest star who would show up also, equally as popular, whatever, but Spider-Man would be the consistent throughout. And the other big book that I would be mentioning would be Marvel 2-in-1. And that was actually my favorite of the two, but it's a really close call. They're both amazing books. Marvel 2-in-1, for the sake of conversation, actually has The Thing as the main character constantly, the consistent, and then there'd always be another team up, individual or a team, whatever. So, yeah, these were two absolutely spectacular books. They always seem to get brushed over, and I don't understand why. They were amazing. There were so many first appearances in these stories. You had amazing writers. It was incredible. Now, while Marvel graphic novel number 4 may have been the first appearance of the New Mutants as a whole, one of those characters had an appearance beforehand, and it was Karma. So, this is actually that story, issue number 100 of Marvel Team Up. And we're going to get into that right now. The main writer on this, for the most part, is Chris Claremont. Extremely famous beyond belief for his X-Men run and all that good stuff. But on top of that, the co-writer and the artist, meaning the pencil specifically, Frank Miller. Oh yeah, they're not playing any games with this. So you can see right there by that cover, the Fantastic Four and Spider-Man are actually fighting each other. And it says, the reason is karma. So this is Karma's first appearance. And I love that image that they have of Karma in the background. Absolutely love that. Like, it's the perfect way, in my mind, it's the absolute perfect way to express her power. She's there, but in the background. But it's overwhelming. You can't miss it. Absolutely love it. So we start off, and just the best title, in my opinion, has to be one of the best titles out there. And introducing Karma, She Possesses People. Why is this one of the best titles ever? Because you can't mistake exactly who she is and what she does. Done. Done and done. So we get Spider-Man just swinging through, and we get right into the action. He's like, my mind, my brain. So he starts actually falling from out of the sky, and we see someone on the precipice of a skyscraper, not Batman this time, watching Spider-Man's descent. And it looks like he's trying to figure things out. However, we know that there's something wrong. There's something majorly wrong here. He bounces off his stuff. He should be killed, for the most part, but he's a lot more than human. And we get an amazing image of Karma. And we don't actually see her in the foreground. We see her silhouette only in her eyes. And it's giving the idea, and then you realize that it's actually her talking through Spider-Man. So she's trying to figure out, she's trying to grab onto things and not fall and not, die and stuff. And it's great. It's absolutely great. She doesn't realize that Spider-Man has these wall-crawling abilities and the web shooters and all that stuff, and she's eventually got to figure all of this stuff out. And eventually she does, because the more time she has, the more time she can relax with Spider-Man, the more she can realize his surface memories, the things that he knows how to do. So Spider-Man is completely out of this. His will is strong, yeah, not like Karma's. Karma is better at possessing people than Professor X. Yeah. Anyway, and go and check out my Spotlight on Story for Marvel graphic novel, issue number 4, the 4th Marvel graphic novel. That was the first appearance of the New Mutants. And you will hear me talk a little bit more on that in depth. Here, though, you can see that she's trying to figure out his powers. Oh, he's got web shooters. Oh my God, he's amazingly strong. How strong is he? He just crushes the chimney in his bare hands later. And she's able to realize some of the things that he can do. And that's going to help her for the mission that she has. She's going to go and she's going to try and kidnap her younger siblings. Okay, we're going to get more into the actual crux of the story later, but for right now, the story itself, not the backstory hasn't been revealed to us yet, so this is all that we've got. So we're moving forward and we're seeing that she's got these two nephews. All right, and these nephews, their names. Let me see where it is here. Leong and Nha. Now, listen, I am not of an Asian background. I am not of a Vietnamese background. I am a typical American whose accent stinks. And I'm not going to try and sit here and act like I'm going to get these right, okay? I know that Karma, her name in and of itself, is Xi'an Coy Manh. And maybe I'm pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize, but I do know that the XI''AN is Shan because they actually do sound it out and pronounce it in other ways. But yeah, that's really the best I got. So Shan is going after her two youngest siblings. Now she's got another sibling, a twin brother, but we're going to see what happens there. Just give it time. So she's going to go and try and rescue these two. Now, this is actually at a party that her uncle is holding. Her uncle is this big time. He used to be a fighter for the Vietnamese. They are from Vietnam. And what do you call it? Now all of a sudden he's like some big charitable donator, and all that stuff. He bought a bunch of Alicia Masterson's sculptures, her statues that she made. That's Ben Grimm's girlfriend at this time. And yeah, just, so the Fantastic Four show up. Ben is in a tux. I love Ben in a tux. Do I love Ben in a tux more than I love him in the trench coat? Hard to say, because they're both amazing. You know what I'm saying? I love the way that he's drawn that way. Like, who's going to believe that there's a regular person that size walking down the street? Come on. So they have this. He goes, Spider-Man, as Karma as Spider-Man, goes down to try and rescue these kids. But as he goes down there, he starts to get this headache. Like, oh man, what's going on? And he doesn't realize it's his spider sense. Behind him, Mr. Fantastic shows up and he grapples onto him. Now, of course, these are your typical superheroes. So, you punch first, punch second, maybe kick third, and then third or fourth, you're going to ask questions, right? So you got to have the big superhero fight. So Ben breaks down the door. Reed is there. He's like, get over here. Gotcha. It's like, what are you doing, man? Since when did you become a bad guy? So it's at this point that all of a sudden she starts to realize, Shan, she starts to realize, hey, wait a second. Bad guy, good guy. I thought that he was a bad guy. I thought he's a criminal. And this is cool. This gets better. So there's the typical fight scene. You got to have the fight scene. And it's a big fight scene because Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, and Ben Grimm, the Thing, are going at it against Spider-Man. But Reed is recognizing this isn't, this seems to be Spider-Man, but his moves, it's like he just learned his powers. He's rigid. He's stiff. He's not moving as well as he used to. Of course, the longer this fight goes on, the more Karma has a chance to really figure out what Spider-Man can do. She's not trying to break the poor guy. So eventually he starts to get the upper hand in a major way. So that's when all of a sudden Shan's uncle says to her brother, her actual twin brother, says, hey man, listen, Tran, his name is Tran. If so, Shan and Tran. Maybe it's Shan and Tran. Anyway, so says, listen, you ever wanted to prove yourself to me? Now is the time. So he's like, sure, no problem, Uncle. So he goes and takes over Spider-Man. Now, it's weird because they both have the exact same power, all right? They're both twins. They both have the exact same mutant power. Not unheard of in siblings, non-siblings, almost impossible, you'd figure, right? But in siblings, it's not too hard to believe. So they both got this mental possession thing. The trick is that he's actually more powerful. Now, she's supposed to have the same power, and in a sense she does, but he's had a lot more time to use it. He is a lot healthier than her, and that actually does come into play a little bit later. And he's had more time to really focus on his powers as opposed to focusing on survival. You'll see the difference. So what happens is he winds up taking over, and it's hard to really go into, who's doing what, whatever. It's enough that when he takes over Spider-Man, because he doesn't realize that Karma is in there also, he thought it was going to be a lot faster. It wasn't, but it's enough for Ben Grimm to pull the spider webbing off his face and just knock him out, just cold clock him hard. So these guys go into it with each other, and they start trying to figure out what's going on. And Reed gets this idea, and he contacts Professor X. So Professor X is like, yes, on my Cerebro machine, I was able to determine that there were two mutants using some kind of a really high-powered power someplace. I was going to get around to investigating it, but, I'm sitting here drinking tea. Actually, he was in the danger room helping to train his X-Men, specifically Colossus, Storm, and Wolverine. So it's fun. This is actually a really funny conversation because Professor X, mind you know what Professor X can do. The guy's the world's premier mutant telepath, period. If you want a telepath, if you want somebody with psychic abilities, you go to the mutants. Yeah, sure, there are a couple here and there, other people, non-mutants who have telepathy and things like that. But if you want telepathy, you go to the mutants. You want any kind of a psychic power, you go to the mutants. That's who's got them all in spades. So he's doing double duty. He's like, oh, yeah, Mr. Richards. Yeah, I did find out that. Hey, Storm, I want you to use your wind power. Move over here. Sorry, Mr. Richards. A little distracted there. So anyways, yeah, such and such and such. Colossus, sometimes it's not just strength. Sometimes it's mind over matter. Use your powers better. Okay, anyway, sorry. So what I was saying is you got to do such and such. Wolverine, those things are really expensive. Don't you make me come out there. So what I was saying is it's great. Like he's doing double duty, but he's only got one mouth. You know what I'm saying? What would have actually been cooler is if they would have shown him using his mental abilities to speak directly into their minds. And then, while he's still talking on the phone. That would have actually been cooler. That's the only way this could have been any cooler. But this was a great scene. I really did like this. So these guys are eventually able to find out where Xi'an is, where Karma is hiding out. And she's hiding out in a church with this Father Bowen dude. Always seems to be some kind of a priest. Anyway, so the priest, basically Spider-Man's, he's really ticked off. So he's going in there gun-slinging, or at least web-slinging. So he gets in there and he goes right after the father. He thinks, oh, this guy, he must be the problem, the reverend. He goes right up and, you tell me what you did or I'm going to knock you out, man. So the father's like, and Karma decides to take over the Human Torch, who goes in there also because, Reed Richards takes like, if all the times go in there half-cocked, there could be an army inside that church. We don't know. Plus, like this dude just, somebody just took over your mind. Don't be stupid. So she takes over Human Torch's mind. Because he's like really powerful. So Spider-Man's like, oh crap, I might have picked the wrong guy to go after. That's sexism for you. That's misogyny. You know what I'm saying? There's a guy and a girl in the room. Let's go after the guy. He's got to be the biggest threat. He's zero threat for the most part. So anyway, they figured things out. And Xi'an goes into her story, and she talks about how it's not her fault. She gives this really great line about how, I'm Vietnamese, and to be Vietnamese is to know war and hunger and starvation and struggle and fear. She says, I do not say this for you to take pity on me. I do this rather because it's simply a fact of life. I'm simply telling you this is what it means to be Vietnamese, especially during that time. I can't argue. All the soldiers that I've known, former soldier myself, but all the soldiers I know who were actually in Vietnam, oh yeah, they will tell you very similar stories. So that's not too far off the mark at all. So she goes into the story explaining how when she was trying to, survive with her family and whatnot, she did wind up coming upon her powers. She actually discovered her power just moments, I guess, before Tran did, and it was to stop a soldier from hurting her and her family. Well, Tran goes and uses the power also and makes the soldier shoot himself. That's kind of messed up. I think it was actually a Viet Cong, so it was a North Vietnamese. But either way, it's just the idea. It's like you actually just made the dude shoot himself. You could have made him just walk away and forget everything, but instead you pulled this nonsense. So, yeah, it's war, it's whatever, but they're also kids. So, when kids pull off something like that, the child soldier type of mentality, that kind of scars you for life. Like, how do you actually heal from something like that? So Tran is absolutely a bad guy in this. Make absolutely no bones about it whatsoever. So anyway, she basically tried to, stay away from this stuff. She told her dad and all that stuff, and he's just like, don't tell anybody. Specifically, don't tell your uncle. He never trusted his brother. Xi'an and Tran's father never trusted his brother, so Karma's uncle. Anyway, General Coy, he Tran does tell him. So he's like, oh, cool, and you say your sister has his power too. Very excellent. Very cool. You were wise to come and tell me this. So he says, listen, we're going to all, the uncle, he says, listen, I'm going to get us all out of here, out of Vietnam. We're going to go over to America, okay? So just trust me, we'll do it. But something happened, and the later comics will explain exactly what happened. Something happened where it was only Tran and the uncle who were able to get out, and the rest of the family was kind of stuck there, like, oh well. So, because Karma had no interest in working for him at all. So anyway, it takes years before they're able to escape. Years. Yeah. A lot of harsh, stuff, trying to survive whatever they could survive. It was like, this is a really dark comic book. I mean, for crying out loud, Frank Miller's attached to it. That should tell you everything. Really dark. So they're finally able to get aboard a boat. Karma's using her powers sparingly as best she can. By the time she actually gets everybody in the boat, she and everybody is just so malnourished, so hungry, so exhausted. She can't even use her powers at this point. So she's literally at their mercy. And pirates wind up taking over the boat, kill her father immediately. The rest of the family doesn't do so much better, especially, and here's the really, really, really dark part about it. She says, especially the women. They suffered a fate that may be worse than death. It's like, dude, the implication, the innuendo here is mind-bogglingly disgusting, So they really laid on thick here how messed up this situation is for them. So they finally get rescued and brought to America. But the day that they're rescued, Mom she kind of looks at it like, okay, you guys are safe now. I can go. I can finally let go. And she dies. Wow. So Karma, Xi'an, and her two little, the little brother and sister, they're finally free, and they go and they meet up with the uncle. So turns out, the uncle's like, oh, wow, you guys survived. Cool. So you're going to help me out, right? You got your powers and stuff like that. And she realized, like, he really is just a dog. He's disgusting. And I don't mean in that kind of implied way. What I mean is just he's big time in the criminal organization. He somehow became a millionaire, multimillionaire, and it was not through positive means, all illicit. So she's like, no, I got to get out of here, and I'm taking my little brother and sister with me. Tran, you don't want to come? Okay, fine. You're too into it. It's all you, brother. So she leaves. She leaves with the kids. And they actually go to Father Bowen. He's got some kind of a self-help relief agency thing. Excuse me. He's a former infantryman, a former grunt. He points out, I'm a former grunt from in Vietnam. So, he's just trying to help out the boat people, as they're called. So in doing so, one day Karma comes home and she sees that her younger brother and sister have been kidnapped, and it was by the uncle. The uncle calls up, it's like, I got him. You ever want to see him again? Come over here and work for me. So she decides, okay, here's what I'm going to do instead. I had this newspaper that I was looking through the want ads in to try and see if I could find a job. But on the front of it is, it's Daily Bugle, Spider-Man is a menace and blah, blah, blah. Great storytelling here. So she's like, he's already a criminal, and he's a powerful criminal. I'm going to take over this criminal. Nobody's going to recognize that he's doing anything different. And I'm going to go and I'm going to rescue my family. Great storytelling. I absolutely love it. It's a great idea. She didn't realize that he was actually a hero, and that the FF actually realized that, know that he's a hero. So she's like, oh no, what have I done to this poor guy? I absolutely love that. I love the follow-up on it. So that's the story, and Spider-Man's like, that's the sickest story I've ever heard. I'm going to kick this sorry guy's butt. Oh, I'm so mad. I just want to fight you all. So they are able to go and figure out where the family is. Now, they're going to take the uncle, Coy, he's actually going to take he's there with Tran, and they take the younger brother and sister, like, listen, we're going to get on this boat, and we're going to get out of here. We're going to go someplace. And they don't really say where or anything, but like, we're going to go and we're going to test these kids to see if they also have these psychic powers, or something to that effect. And if they do, cool. They're going to come and work for me. If not, I got other things that they can do. So I was going to, like sell them off as slave labor or something like that. Like, this is his own family, literally. Does not care. It's messed up. So yeah, this guy's clearly scum. So they go in, they're going to try and help out. They're going to try and kick some booty here. And a huge fight scene takes place where Spider-Man, for the most part, just almost solo, takes everybody out. But the thing is, when Tran and General Coy are captured, Coy says to Tran, he says, listen, nephew, if you ever want to prove yourself to me, now's the time. It's like, way ahead of you, uncle. So he takes over the entire Fantastic Four. That's right. While Karma can usually only take over one person at a time, this cat goes and takes over 4 people, 4 superpowered people. And he has them all saying, hey, and he's able to act independently on his own also. And guys, check out Karma Explained in a minute to see more about Karma herself. But as far as Tran, he's still able to talk in his body with his own mind while taking over these 4. And has the Fantastic Four intermittently say to Spider-Man, could have taken you over too, but since you're the one who came in and ruined our plans in the first place and started all this trash talk, we'd rather make you I'd rather make you suffer. So that's messed up. So anyway, General Coy leaves. He's like, hey, I'm gonna get out of here and just follow me when you can. Tran's like, oh yeah, you go, Uncle. Don't worry, I'll be with you shortly. So big, huge fight scene. Just a lot of fighting, a lot of butt kicking, and at one point, Karma's finally like, okay, I'm back. I'm awake again. So she says, listen, brother, you need to stop this. He's like, no, you don't understand. I'm planning on, doing all this stuff and learning the family business, so to speak, our uncle's business, and then I'm going to take over. I'm going to get rid of him and I'm going to take over. And it's going to be cool. She's like, okay, you are clearly evil. So what she does is this is actually really weird. She possesses him directly. And this shows that even though he's got more power stunts that he's able to do with his power, she's technically just a little bit more raw energy than him. And she attacks him directly and winds up absorbing him. Now, where does the body go? I don't know. But like the gi that he was wearing, completely left over, like, gone. Just history. And she takes over. Now, when she does this, his body disappears. She's basically possessed him completely. And his essence is within her, which technically makes her twice as powerful. But she's kind of like the yin and the yang now. This is where she actually takes the name Karma, which is, just look up the definition of karma, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But that's kind of perfect because she's now got the yin and the yang in her. She was the yin, so to speak, and the yang, well, that would be the brother. You can also say it was inverse because, the yin is sometimes considered the male energy, but it's also considered the white or the good energy. And the yang is the chaotic, but it's also considered, so, however you want to look at it, I really don't care. You know what I'm saying? The idea is that the yin and the yang are now represented in her. So she is Karma. Done and done. And that's pretty much the story. The very next time that we will see her is in Marvel Graphic Novel issue number 4. My opinion, this is a fantastic story. It's dark. Oh my God, it's dark. And there's actually a follow-up story to here. A backup story. This is actually, to the best of my knowledge, this is the first time that we find out that Storm actually met Black Panther, T'Challa, way back in the day. And there's an assassination attempt against her. Can it really be called an assassination? She always has a weapon on her. She's never unarmed. So anyway, somebody tries to murder her. And it turns out it's some dude from her and T'Challa's past. When she was off, I think she was about 12 years old at this time. She's off flying around the desert, walking in the desert. The first time she learned she could fly with her powers, because she already knew that she could use her powers, but this was the first time she actually flew with her powers. She saw this skinny little kid who was playing a flute being attacked by a bunch of these white guys. And they were actually from South America. They were absolutely slavers. And they were planning on, kidnapping him because they knew that he was the son, he was the prince. He was the son of the king of Wakanda, this extremely minerals, not deficient, enriched nation. He didn't know about, this guy didn't know about vibranium. It's a very closely guarded secret, but he would have discovered it once he got there. So he was just thinking, T'Challa will be my perfect puppet dictator, saying, and I will actually be pulling the strings, and I'll just, completely desecrate the land and take all of its resources. Yeah, not a bad plan. But they were able to beat the guy up and then get out of there. And the guy never forgot about it, so he comes back to try and assassinate Storm and continue with his plan to take some kind of revenge. And there's just a very interesting story there. You want more? Go and read the story. Seriously, like Marvel app, Marvel Unlimited. Go and actually buy the comic, old school comic way. Whatever you want, visit your local comic book store. Or I will try to provide a link in the description below. Because, the comic is totally worth reading. A lot of history in this particular issue. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. I genuinely hope you enjoyed it, and that's it for me. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.